Hello traders, David here from Wave Trader. So today I'm going to be analyzing the dollar index and a couple of other currency pairs to give us an outlook on what we can expect for this new week we are going into. Bear in mind that most of the setups I'm going to show you here are more of swing trades, but I'm making this video to teach you how to look for trades. You can apply this to any time frame of your choice. It will still work. And I also want to do this analysis today without the aid of the MACD and the EMAs, not because I can't put them there, but sometimes it helps to look at the charts plainly. The only indicator I have here on my system or on my screen is this indicator that shows me where the EMAs cross. So wherever you see a red arrow or a green arrow, then that means that the 25 and the 5 EMAs have crossed. That's just the only indicator I'm leaving on here. So let's get into this. Now, I'm currently on the monthly time frame of the dollar index, and at a glance, without the indicators to give you any ambiguous signals, you can see clearly that we are in an uptrend. All right, we had a dip here. The market moved up a while, and then we had another dip. So when you begin to see things like this, keep it simple, and it becomes easier to determine your trades, to know if you are going to be bullish or bearish on any given day. Okay, so the most current candle shows us that we are in a bullish situation on the dollar index. So right now I will be thinking long-term buy. All right, but remember, this is the monthly chart, so you cannot rule out the fact that you might get an instance to sell on a lower time frame. Okay, however, let your long-term bias be bullish for now. So going to the weekly time frame now, what do we see here? So the past few weeks have been very dramatic because of the pandemic, the COVID-19 thing, and you can see that it dealt the market a very decisive blow, which the markets are still reeling from. So for the past 1 month or so, it was quite difficult to determine what was happening. You can see by these extremely long candles here, but it seems as if things are settling down a bit. So I'm going to go lower to the daily chart so I can see a little bit more definition here. So on the daily chart, let's see. So on the daily chart, this is what I'm seeing. After this move down here, we had this extremely bullish run, and then the market went down again. But from here, I want to start using the retracement levels to show you something. So if we take the retracement levels of this last bull run to the highest level, what do you see? You can see that the market retraced just before the 62 or the 61.8% retracement region, which is a region that I take note of a lot. All right. So the market stopped short of the 62% region, went up a ways. Now, what's happening here? So how far did the market go up? If I were to take these levels from here now to this lowest point, you can see that this time around it stopped just short of the 50%. So the 55%, the 50%, the 61.8 or the 62%, even the 79%, these are all levels that you should take note of. They are very powerful, and they actually help you to see what the market is doing at these areas of resistance and support. So the reason why I'm showing you this is because right now, if we take the levels from here now to the most current highest level of the bullish move here, you can see that we are hovering around the 61.8% region. So while that doesn't really mean anything sometimes, it might bear fruit for us to pay attention now, because you can see that we are at a level of resistance. Okay, it was resistance here, it sort of became support here. So this entire region between here and here like this could be an area of support and resistance, and that's what seems to be happening right here. So what we are saying is, as we are going into this new week, you might want to pay attention to these levels here. So if the market cannot break this level, then we are thinking of the dollar appreciating in value. and that means that all the pairs that are paired to the dollar, you should take note of them. So if we're looking at things like the USD CAD, USD JPY, USD CHF, then you might be thinking of going long on those currency pairs. And if you are looking at GBP USD, AUD USD, NZD USD, and Euro USD, you might be thinking of selling. But you can't just say, I'm going to buy or I'm going to sell. Okay, we trade based on the patterns that we see, and we trade wave tops and wave bottom patterns. So I'm only showing this to you so that you pay attention to this level. So this is a very significant level to pay attention to this week. All right, so let's see what the new week will look like for the dollar. So having said that, I'm not looking at any dollar pair right now in the new week. All right, simply because I like to make this analogy that the lion, even though it's the king of beasts, it will not attack the strongest animal in the pack. It will always go for the weakest link, the oldest, the youngest, the weakest. So as traders, this is how we are supposed to think. No matter how sexy a pattern looks like on a chart, you want to look at your currency pairs and determine the one that gives you the most highest percentage of success. Okay, so for me, I had a look at the pairs today, all 28 of them, and I came out with 5 pairs that it may not even be this week we are going into, but at least for the next 2 weeks, paying attention to these pairs will definitely yield fruit. Of course, I'm not going to trade all of them, but I'll be looking at all, there are 5 of them, and I'll be looking at them concurrently here. Okay, so you can decide for yourself which one you want to pay attention for the week. So let's get to it. So we are done with the dollar index for now. So I'm going to go to the first currency pair here we're looking at, which is the Euro Aussie. And the last video I recorded was about the 138 pips win, a short trade I took on this pair. And I'm still watching the pair. Okay, I only closed the trade because we're going into a weekend and we had a holiday coming up, so I wanted to see what the new week would look like. But on the monthly time frame, this is what we are seeing. So I'm going to remove the indicators again, like so we can see it clearly. Okay, don't get confused. If not having the indicators on the chart confuses you, I fully expect you to use your indicators to actually observe this charts, but sometimes I like to look at the charts without them. Okay, all right, so now the most current candle you can see is bearish. Okay, we had a prolonged bullish run here, and after a protracted run like this, the market tends to go back from where it came sharply, and that's what's happening here. But that doesn't negate the fact that we are in an uptrend. All right, so of course these levels here, I'll just mark that here. These levels, this area here is an area to watch out for, meaning that this downward move might halt just around this region of the 1.66 region and resume the upward trek. Now this is the monthly chart, so we still have a little bit of downward move to go before we start thinking of bullish moves. Going down to the weekly time frame now, this is what's happening. So on the weekly time frame, we see a little bit more definition. After a protracted period of consolidation which lasted a couple of months, I think about 3 months or more, you can see that we had this shot up, which is a breakout. All right, so now what we are looking for is for this downward move to peter out, and then we can resume our upward move. But for now, for the Euro Aussie, I think my bias is bearish, at least for this week we are going into. All right, so let's go down to the daily time frame now. And this is what's happening, and you can see here we had this beautiful wave top situation, and that's what has brought us to this point. Okay, so I believe that there's still a little bit of a downward move to go before the upward move commences. If I were to take my levels from here, making here the first leg, second, and then this whole thing the third, let's see what we see. So you can see that we've blown well past the levels to watch out for, the 50, 55, the 62. So that means we're heading down to the 79, all right, which is somewhere in this region here. So that's why I'm saying that my bias is bearish for now, because until we get a positive look to go long, there's no reason to think of buying on this currency pair right now. All right, so I'm just going to quickly switch to the indicators now so that you guys can see what I'm saying. So you see what's happening here. So if we were to go by the indicators, you can see that we have our dead cross on the MACD. We have our dead cross on the MACD or the MACD. I mean the MACD. These are the EMAs, sorry. So we had our dead cross on the EMAs here. We had our dead cross here. So it's bearish for now. Okay. So this new week going in, you are thinking short. All right. And if we were to look in terms of how much profit you might make, even if we were to say from here, we are still looking at roughly 400 pips, 415 pips or so. It's a lot. All right. So this is going to be a beautiful short trade if you can get in. And the best way to get in is probably from the 4-hour or the 1-hour chart. All right. This is the 4-hour chart, and you may not see much here because all the indications show that the trend is still down. So what you want to do is go as low as you can to find an ideal entry. Okay. So something like this, the 1-hour chart is a good place to wait, because you can see that the MACD is trending up here, and what we're waiting for is for the MACD to give us a dead cross and going down, something like this, okay, or like this. So when we get a dead cross on the MACD, because right now we don't seem to have a cross on the EMAs, okay, this is just a bounce, and that's quite difficult to understand if you don't know too much about the wave trader system. So it's best to watch the MACD. So when the MACD gives us a cross, then it's safe to assume that most likely the downward move has resumed. But today is Sunday, so we don't know what Monday will be. Monday is a holiday, so most likely Tuesday we'll see what this chart will give us. Okay, but for now, the Euro Aussie bias is to go short, for me at least. So that's for the Euro Aussie. Okay, I'm just going to go to the next currency pair here now, which is the Aussie Swedish francs, okay, the Aud Chf. Now, without the indicators, you can see how easy it is to know the direction the trend is going. So even a newborn babe can tell you that this trend is going down. But what is going on right now is a bounce, okay, or a rally up in price. So I'm going to go lower to the to the weekly time frame now. This is the weekly time frame. So what's happening right now is a bounce, as I said. So now the best way to determine where this bounce will end is to use your retracement values. You can take that from here to the lowest point, and you can see that we are smack exactly at the 61.8 or the 62% region, which is usually a place that the market tends to reserve. Okay, but this is the weekly chart, and this candle looks very strong as a continuation candle, so there's the possibility that this move can still push up to the 79% region. So my APAC calculator is not on this template, so I'm just going to switch to another template where the calculator is, so that you guys can understand what I'm saying. So if we draw it now, you can see that we have the 79% here. So since we are currently at the 62, and it doesn't look as if the market wants to turn around just yet, this week we are going in, you are going to wait for an indication to see if the trend wants to continue. And if the trend is going to continue on the AUD CHF, then most likely the 79% region here is an area to watch out for. Okay, so let's go lower to the daily time frame now, and this was going on. You can see we have a golden cross here. We had a golden cross on the MACD. So right now this bullish run is still in effect. All right, but bear in mind that the overall trend in the long term is bearish. So how are you going to get into this trade? If you are very patient, then I would recommend waiting for a wave top situation to occur on this time frame. Wait for a dead cross on the MACD, wait for a dead cross on the EMAs, and that will give you a beautiful short situation which can easily become a swing trade or a position trade. Okay, but for those of you who are day traders and who like the action to be hot and fast, I think there's a slight possibility of getting a little bit of a bullish move here, but I will not really advise it. You can see that the candles are short, okay, and so there's a lot of battle going on. There's a strong battle going on between the buyers and the sellers, the bulls and the bears. And the MACD on the 4-hour chart is not impressive at all. They are close together, they are squeezed together, so that tells you that the battle is extremely fierce. So I think I'm going to exercise a patience in this matter. From where we are currently to the 79% region is still a lot of pips. It's about 227 pips, and I'm not going to say if I get the opportunity I won't take it. Most likely, if I can find a good opportunity on the 1-hour chart, I believe I will still take it, but it's going to be a trade that you take with your heart in your throat, because there's no guarantee that this move is going to go beyond the 62%. So what happens this week will determine if the week will give us a bullish move or a bearish trade, okay? But my money is on a bearish situation. I would rather wait for a beautiful wave top situation, anywhere between the 62% and the 79%, and then take that, because you can see here when we got our opportunity to go short here, you can see how many pips that gave us. That gave us over 1,000 pips, 1,216 pips, okay? For how long? From February 18th to 16th of March. That's roughly a month. But 1,000 pips for a month for just one trade, I believe, is fantastic. And there was another opportunity to even go short here as well. So in this instance, I believe a swing trade or a position trade is much more efficient. But then, traders are different. Some of you like being swing traders, some of you like being day traders, and some of you are scalpers. So if you are a scalper, then you have no problem getting a short-term long trade here, okay? So I'm going to go to the next currency pair now. So we're going to look at the AUD JPY. So without the indicators, you can see that we are currently in a downtrend, but we are also in a rally, okay? And I love these rallies because as long as you understand that the 62% region is a very strong area that you can take your profits, then it's very, very possible for you to trade these things with a high degree of efficiency. So taking this retracement down here, you can see that we are currently at the 62%, okay? I like approximating it to the 62. So for those of you who are perfectionists, forgive me, it's 61.8, but let's just approximate it to 62%. So that tells us that it's possible that this upward move has ended, but the markets don't just end, okay? Sometimes they take a little bit of time to turn around. And because this is the weekly chart here, we don't know if this turnaround might take another week before it turns around. So we'll go by what we know. We're going to go by what our system tells us, okay? So I'm just going to put the indicators back here. All right. So if I put the indicators back, you can see we had a dead cross here. We had a beautiful wave top situation. So if we had here as first wave, second wave, this is the third wave. We're currently in the fourth wave. So we are waiting for the fifth wave. All right. So let's go down to the daily time frame now. And this was going on the daily time frame. You can see here we had this wave bottom situation, golden cross on the EMAs, golden cross on the MACD earlier. So right now, to all intents and purposes, the trend is bullish. All right. So tentatively, this week that we are going in, this week we are going in now, you might still get a bullish trade, most likely to this region. It's possible, okay? It's extremely possible because all indicators are showing that the trend is still bullish. So there's no reason to think sell just now. If you want to think sell, then this EMAs have to give us a dead cross, and then the MACD has to give us a dead cross, and then we'll be thinking sell. All right. But for those who are swing traders and position traders, just be patient and allow the move to exhaust itself, and then you can take a beautiful situation to the downside. Okay. So going to the 4-hour time frame now, what do we see? So this is what's going on, and you can see how the MACD is beginning to curl here, and you can see that the the candles are getting progressively smaller and smaller, but that doesn't mean much. It could possibly mean that the candles are going to shoot forth in a breakout trade. One more move. All right, one more move before the trend turns to go down. So my money is on the short trade because I can take that trade. Something like this, you see, when you see trades like this, your risk is very small, but your profit potential is quite huge. But trades like this, if you decide to take this trade to the upside, the risk because the market can just turn abruptly against you. So if you get into this trade, you have to be very careful. You have to watch it and make sure that you lock in your profits as you get them. But I will recommend waiting for a bearish move to take us down. But like I said, there's still a very good possibility that we have another upward move at least to this region here. But let's see what this week gives us. Okay, so let's go to the next pair here. We are looking at the Euro New Zealand, and this is the weekly. So I'm going to go to the monthly time frame here, and this is what is happening. So at a glance, you can tell that we are currently in an uptrend. Okay, so what's going on here is just a retracement from this sharp move up, just like we had here. We had a sharp move up here, and you see the market retraced back for a while, then resumed again, meandered for a while, and then boom. So we actually had a wave bottom situation here. So if we were to call this the first wave on the monthly chart, second, this is the third, and I believe that we are just about to start the fourth wave. So for the monthly time frame, the most current candle is red, meaning that we are in a bearish situation. Let's go to the weekly time frame now and see what we see. So this is the weekly time frame, and you can see that we are actually in a downtrend right now. All right. Also, we had another smaller wave bottom situation here. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is also as good as calling this the 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. But to all intents and purposes, this week, let's look at the Euro New Zealand from a bearish perspective. But you can see that we are currently at an area of support. It was resistance here, now is support. So you have to watch out for things like this. The overall trend is bullish. Short-term trend is bearish. Okay. I'm going to put the indicators back now, and let's see what we see. So with the indicators back, you can see that we had a golden cross on the MACD, we had a golden cross here on the EMA. So what's happening right now is just a temporary fluctuation of the market. So that means that the upward trend is the real trend. Now let's go to the daily and see what we see. So on the daily chart, you can see that we had this beautiful death cross situation here after this wave top. And then we had this beautiful death cross situation on the MACD. So you can't really think of buying right now. The only way you would buy now is if you were to get a golden cross going back up, a golden cross on the MACD, and of course a wave bottom situation. So this new week, let's just tentatively say that this new week we might be thinking to sell at least for the first couple of days. All right, so I'm going to go to the 4-hour chart, and this is what's happening. But the thing about this particular chart is you can see that the trend doesn't look very impressive. Okay, we want our trends to give us a pronounced move that we can actually see. This is very deceptive. You are not so sure if it's going up or going down, but by doing the analysis from the monthly down to the 4-hour chart, you can actually tell that it's going down. All right, the MACD is below the histograms, below the waterline, so it's actually bearish. Even though the lines are close together, we want them to be spread apart like this. Okay, but it is what it is. So in this particular instance, I'm going to go as low as the 1-hour time frame, and you can see that we are currently in a downward move. But look at what's happening here. We are just about to get a cross on the MACD. So what's going to happen here is let your buyers be bearish for the Euro New Zealand, at least for the next few days. Okay, you are hoping to get something like this, and failing that, you might want to look for something like this. All right, so the best way to, since we already have 3 candles here and this arrow signifying that we are in a downtrend, once the markets resume fully, the best thing you can do is probably go as low as the 30-minute chart or the 15-minute chart and wait for a retracement. The best way to get into this trade is to wait for a retracement, and if you get a retracement to these levels here, better. so that you can take the trade beautifully and go down. Okay, failing that, if you can't get a retracement, then the only thing you can do is taking a trade on the 1 hour chart by placing a limit order below somewhere in this region. Okay, but for now, let's just wait and see what happens when the markets resume. Okay, so for Euro New Zealand, our bias is bearish for now. So let's look at the last pair we are going to talk about today. This is the Aussie card. Okay, and now I'm on the monthly chart. So you can see that we are in a very steep downtrend, but what's happening right now is we are just in a rally. Okay, we had a beautiful spinning top here, so it's possible that the trend is thinking of changing direction. And for this one, let's go to the indicators so that we can see what's happening. So by placing the indicators here, you can see that the trend, the MACD is showing that we are still in a downtrend. The EMAs are separated, angle and separation good. So we are currently in a downtrend. Okay, let's go to the weekly and see what we see. So this is what is happening on the weekly chart. So you can see that we've been in a downtrend for quite a while. So what's happening here is a rally up in price. All right, now for this particular pair, you will have to be patient. I believe that even if we still have upward potential, it's best to wait out the upward move and get into the short trade. So it might not happen in a day or two, it might take a couple of days, it might even take a week before it finally turns around completely. But for this particular currency pair, I would recommend that you wait for a bearish move, except if you are just after a few pips, 20 pips, 30 pips, something like that, then of course you can still go for a bullish move here, but I don't recommend it. Okay, so this is what is happening on the 4-hour chart. But having said that, if you are able to catch a retracement, say the market comes down a little bit and begins to go back up, just like it's been doing for the past few days, of course you can still get a move up here, but you want to keep your eye on this level here. All right, so we are looking at a good 168 pips still to go, possibly. We have good angle and separation on the EMAs, and MACD is open, but you can see that it's beginning to look as if it wants to cross here, and the candles are beginning to look squeezed here with a lot of reversal candles showing. All right, you can see that we have a couple of spinning tops, several of them here. So you want to be very careful about charts like this. So I'm primarily a swing trader, so I think in this particular instance I will wait patiently for a few days and see if I can get a situation like this. And you can see what happened after we got a wave top situation here. You can see this move. This move was good for I don't know, about 824 pips, so not bad at all. Okay, for just barely 1 week of waiting. All right, so sometimes it pays to wait out these moves and take the one with the least resistance. So guys, these are the pairs I will be watching out for the next few weeks, possibly for the next 2 weeks. And I'm not against trading the majors right now, but after looking through the currency pairs, for me, these 5 are the ones that look attractive for this new week we are going into. All right, so whatever decisions you make, please analyze your charts properly. Most of the time, it's better if you get a pair that is trending. Okay, don't look for pairs that you have to struggle to find the patterns. Most of the time, when you see a currency pair that you need to trade, the patterns will be jumping right at your face. Okay, it will be very obvious that this is a good pattern to trade, and in this instance I'm talking about a wave top or a wave bottom situation. Okay, so I wish all of you a happy Easter and at the same time profitable trading to all of you. Thank you very much.